When I was diagnosed with ADHD, I did not want to take medication at all. Matter of fact, for 3.5 years, I did not take any medication just because of all the things I heard about it. But then over the last 6 years, I've taken 5 different medications: Adderall, Adderall XR, Ritalin, Vyvanse, Wellbutrin, and Concerta. And this is just my experience of what to kind of expect when you do start taking medications. And the first thing I did not realize, I went into the doctor, I said, I want to start medication. Now, I didn't realize it's going to take a lot of trial and error to find the right medications. So I had to try different ones. And the doctor said, hey, this is part of the process. And we then are going to find the right doses and everything like that. So when you go in to see the doctor and are trying to get medication, it may be a process of trial and error when you do that. And it may take a little bit of time because of the way medications work, and try to find the right one that actually helps you focus, because some may not help you at all, and that can be a real issue. And the other thing about medications that I discovered when I watched Ned Hollowell, that when I went in and was going to try medication, that I think 70% of people it works for, and then 30% it doesn't work for at all. So I was just, well, hopefully it works for me. The first medication I got was Vyvanse. I didn't even know what it was or what the name meant or anything when I got it, because I was just like, I only knew Adderall and Ritalin, right? So the thing about it was, when I got it, I was like, okay, how does this work? And he explained it's an extended release. And so I really liked that, because it was a really smooth, gradual release of the medication. And I got about 8 hours of use out of it. Now, the thing about Vyvanse that I discovered, for me anyway, was that I was just nauseous in the morning for like 2 hours or so, maybe 1 hour. But I had to make sure, the other thing I had to do, I had to make sure that I ate something, or I get really, really nauseous when I took Vyvanse. And so not sure if that's going to be your experience as well. But the thing about it is that was okay, because I was getting more focus out of the day. And you had high blood pressure, so I knew that was a side effect. And insomnia was also a side effect, but I kind of stayed up late anyway, so insomnia didn't affect me as much. And so that was just my experience with Vyvanse, and I really enjoyed it. Now, the thing about it was, my insurance would not keep covering Vyvanse. They were like, hey, I'm not covering Vyvanse anymore. It's $300 for you to keep taking Vyvanse. I was not going to pay $300 per time I had to go get Vyvanse, because you're doing it within 30 days, and that's a lot to pay for medication. So I told my doc, hey, I have to get something else. This is not going to be working for me anymore because of the cost of the medication. And now let me tell you how it feels to be on medication, at least for me and my ADHD brain. It feels like you have glasses, can't see anything without the glasses. That was me. I've had glasses before, can't see anything without contacts or glasses at all. Had to get surgery to make sure I could see. Now, the thing about it is, once you take the medication, it is like putting on those glasses or those contacts and being able to see everything for the first time super clear, like 20/20 focus and whatever else you need to take in and remember things. Really good feeling that first time, and that's what you'll realize. That's what I realized anyway, when I start to actually take medication. But while this is great, there is a downside to taking medication that I didn't realize before I started taking it. You're going to focus better, but you're going to focus on whatever is in front of you a lot better. Playing video games, you're going to focus on video games. Doing something that's not productive at all, you're really going to dial in and focus on that. So that's the disadvantage I found. I was like, oh, wait, I don't want to focus on that, but I've taken my medication, so I'm dialed in and focus on that thing that I didn't really need to focus on. So that's the disadvantage that I found when I was taking medication. I had to make sure I was taking it at the right time when I need it for the right activity, or it just ended up I'd be focusing a lot of time on the wrong thing. And if you're enjoying this content, then go ahead and subscribe to your channel and like the video. And now let's talk about instant release medication and then extended release medication. Taking both Adderall, Ritalin, instant release. About 30 minutes after taking it, it's going to kick in. It really does kick in super fast. You notice it when it kicks in. At least I did. And then when you come off of it, you really notice it, because it's like an instant kind of crash when you come off of it. And so the thing about it is, with extended release medication, it's a much slower, smoother, gradual kind of release. And so a lot of times when I was taking extended release medication, I didn't really feel it or notice it until I was looking at something and realized I'm focusing better, and I was like, oh, it must be active. And so after that point, it lasts about 8 hours for me. Now, it is really dependent on your metabolism. So if you metabolize stuff really fast, the time is going to be a lot shorter for you. And if you metabolize stuff really like slow, you're gonna get a lot more time using the medication and the effects of it. So you have to figure that out once you start taking it, because then you know, okay, is this really being active for this amount of time? Or do I want to take, the other kind of medication because I want it active for more time? But that's up to you to figure out which one's going to work best for you. And now let me tell you about these side effects I felt from different medications. Generally, your side effects are for just all of these for me was loss of appetite, can't sleep, insomnia, and then just like higher blood pressure were things that I felt no matter which medication I took. These are things that were just common throughout each of them. First, I'm going to talk about Adderall. I was kind of on the fence about Adderall just because all the bad things I'd heard about it and everything in the news. Wasn't sure what it was going to be like. And I think about Adderall is dry mouth, really bad. I had to have something like water around me all the time just to make sure when it got super dry, I had something to drink right near me. That was not something I enjoyed. Just irritable, anxious a lot of times. Sometimes things that people would say or do would just get me on edge, or I would just be like really on edge just in general anyway. And it just was not a good experience and that I really didn't enjoy. The other thing was sometimes with Adderall, I would just be like zoning out, and not like hyper focus zone out, like, sometimes we'll get, but really zoning out just for a few seconds. And it got noticeable because people would be like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Everything. And I would then pop out of it. But it was really, I just kind of knew that was some effect that Adderall had on me. And I just didn't like it at all. That was just something I was like, okay, I have to change to something else because this is not working for me. Even though the focus part was working for me, but the other things around it was just not good. And I needed something completely different because of the way that it affected me. Now, it may not affect you this way. It may be okay for your ADHD brain, but this is just my experience and how it affected me. And next up is Concerta. Now, I did not like Concerta at all. It may work for you. It did not work for me. I felt nauseous all the time. Didn't have an appetite, but I felt nauseous anyway, so that was okay for me. And the thing about it was I just felt weird on it all the time. I didn't feel good at all any time of the day that I was on it. It took me only about 2 days to call my doctor. I was like, hey, I can't do Concerta at all. You need to give me something else. And I was on the lowest dose of Concerta as well too. And the thing about it is that it just didn't work for me. That doesn't mean it won't. That doesn't mean that it will not work for you. And let's talk about Ritalin. Ritalin is the one I take now, and the dry mouth is back with Ritalin. It gets really bad sometimes. I have to have some water around me all the time to drink to eliminate the dry mouth, or else I'm just like really not enjoying it, okay? And then irritability is another thing with Ritalin. I have to really watch myself to make sure I'm not snapping at somebody or just being unpleasant to somebody or just letting things bother me more than they should, because it can be a real big issue. Another thing is sweating. Start sweating for no reason when you're on Ritalin, and that's at least how it works, at least how it does for me. And that can be an issue. It's just kind of annoying though, but it's still one of the things I don't want to happen, because then, I got to go take a shower. That's okay, but I don't like the fact that it makes me sweat. And the other thing about Ritalin is the nausea that comes with it. Generally 30 minutes to an hour in the morning, that's when I take it. And so after I take it, I know that nausea is going to come. And then after that time, it goes away, especially when I eat something, get some food in my stomach, then it does go away. But it is still the really annoying side effect of when you take it, that when I take it, that it kicks in like that. Now with Wellbutrin, I take Ritalin and Wellbutrin together. It doesn't interact in a way that gives me more side effects when I take them both together, because some of the side effects of Wellbutrin overlap with Ritalin. But I do notice that when I take Ritalin by itself and miss Wellbutrin, the side effects from Ritalin are the same. And that's not all the time, but it does occasionally happen. And so the fact of the matter is, I don't know if Wellbutrin is actually increasing the side effects. I just know that they work well together for me. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to work well together for you. That's just my experience. And let's talk about stimulant versus non-stimulant medication. Most of the medication I take has been stimulant, and those have worked best for me. The one non-stimulant medication that I took did not work for me, not because it didn't help me focus, it's just because the side effects were really bad on the Concerta. And so the thing about it is they really all kind of work and give you similar kind of focus. At least for me, that's what I felt, and didn't really tell a huge amount of difference between the medications when I was trying to focus. Maybe because as long as I get the effect that I want of being able to focus on something, it doesn't really, go to a different level for me. I'm focused, I'm good. That's all I kind of really care about, as opposed to how focused I was or how focused I wasn't at the time taking different medications. That wasn't really something I had noticed or even really kept track of, because I was just surprised or just really excited that I was able to focus anyway on all these different medications. And here's my experience with the dosages of these different medications. They usually start you at the lowest dosage and then ramp you up. So if you get the lowest dosage and you're like, I'm not feeling anything, not feeling focused or anything, then the doctor will usually ramp you up to the next one and then see how you do on that one. And then if you don't still feel anything on that dosage, if it has another dosage that you can take, then they'll ramp you up to the next one. But you just have to go through that process, because they are going to, or generally they will start you at the lowest dose imaginable for you to see how you feel on that dosage, see if the side effects there, see if it helps you at all, and is it going to be a good fit for you. And they are going to look at you for your response and side effects and how you feel. So you do have to tell them, because they can't really know what's going to work for you if you don't really communicate, hey, this is not working at all, I just want something else, or this is really working for me, but can I get, this other higher dose or this lower dose, because I feel like that worked better for me. And I've gone up and down in dosages a lot of times, just because I want to feel like, okay, this kind of works at this level. Can I dial it back to this level and see how it works? And sometimes it worked better at the lower level, and sometimes it worked better at the higher level. And I'm really kind of an advocate for, how can I take this and be at the lowest dosage possible and still get the effect that I want. And so I always kind of opt to see if I can get the lowest dosage and see if that works for me before actually going up to the next step. And just be aware of this. This is something I discovered before I started taking medication. Medications don't work for everybody. And so you may never find the one that works for you. It's really just a trial and error kind of thing. And it works only for 70% of the people. So the other 30% of the people have to figure out something else to do besides medication if you decide to take medication. So you're just trying to go through and find the one that works for you. And if you don't find the one that works for you, you don't find any that work for you, then you have to figure out other options of things to do. But just be aware that that could be the situation that you're in. And I hope it's not if you want to take medication, but it's just warning or an FYI when you're thinking about doing medication. And here's the thing, you probably are going to forget your medication to take it at some point, sometime. You'll just forget it, you'll lose it, you just don't know where it is, or you'll be doing something and realize you haven't taken it. And that happens all the time. And think about it is, if I don't really think, this is not a day that I need the medication, or I'm just not feeling like I'm really unfocused at the time, then sometimes I just forget to take it at all until I think about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't take it today. And so that may be something that happens to you when you start taking medication. Now, think about it is, if you forget, there's a certain time frame that you do not want to take it at the time that you've forgotten. I think that's the right way to say it. Anyway, if you forget and you end up and it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you want to get to sleep tonight, well, you probably don't want to take it at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because you will not get any sleep that night. You'll be up rearranging your apartment or home, at 2 o'clock in the morning. You'll just be really focused and motivated, but you won't get any sleep. So that's just, at least for me, that's how it works. So if I take it after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I know that I'm not getting any sleep that night. And so just a warning to you, an FYI to you, that if you're going to take medication and for your ADHD brain and you're like, hey, I'm going to take it, I missed the dose, going to take it at 4 o'clock, that's something that I would not recommend you doing, because the effect is you will not get any sleep generally on the medication. At least for me, that's how it works for me, as I don't plan to get any sleep when I take it that late. And something I really had to pay attention to when I take different medications is when it wears off, how I feel. Do I feel like, wow, it wore off and I feel like it's kind of crashed, I was not feeling good afterwards? Or do I feel like, oh, it wore off really good? Instant release medication has that really major drop, when it comes off. And hopefully you don't get into that situation where it does that for you. But for me, it actually does do that. Now, with extended release medication, it's more of a gradual come off that medication. So for me, it wasn't as bad. Sometimes I didn't even notice it when it was actually done and I didn't have it anymore in my system. So that's just something you need to pay attention to and see how it works for you when you come down off the medication. And here's something you may not be ready for when you start taking ADHD medications. The cost of the medications are expensive. Just a lot more expensive than a lot more medications. Matter of fact, when I go to the pharmacist to get my medication and they look at the price of it, their eyes get big and they say, "Are you sure this is the right price for this medication?" Yes, I'm sure that's the right price for your medication. So just be aware that you are going to pay a lot for your medication when you go. At least in the United States, you probably going to pay a lot more than the normal price for other medications, because of the fact that medications are so expensive, especially like Vyvanse. Vyvanse was super expensive for me, and I have no idea why. But it's just one of the things that I noticed as you take different ones, how much it actually costs when you go to the drugstore to actually pick it up. And the other thing is, when you go there, make sure you have your ID on you too as well, because they will ask you for it. They will make you sign for it. If you don't have your ID, then they may not actually give you the medication, because of the fact that it is a controlled substance. So make sure you have all that stuff ready and prepared, and just actually have it out. I usually just take it out of my wallet and just hold it and give it right to them. I sign for it and then I'm good to go. And here's something else that's really important to know. They can at any time drug test you just randomly when you're taking ADHD medications, and they are going to check to see if that medication is in your system at the time that you take the drug test. So just be aware that that is something they can do, and you just walk in and they say, "Hey, you need to go take a drug test right now. We're going to test it and see if the medication's in the system." I think it's because they don't want you actually going and selling it to someone or misusing it or mishandling or anything like that. So that's just something you have to be aware of. Now, the thing also I think is, if you smoke anything that may be not the most legal kind of substance in parts of the US, if you get tested for that, then, and that's in your system, they may not approve you for medication as well. It just depends, and they may say, "Hey, you can't take medication beyond that particular thing." So just be aware of that when you actually go in to try to get medication as well. And if they test you and find it, then it may be one of the things that say, "Hey, you can't be on there." That might not be every case, but that's just the cases that I know of people I've talked to. I don't drink, I don't smoke anything, so I've never even had to worry about it. But you may be in that case where you do have to worry about it, so just an FYI to let you know. And here's something else to be aware of. ADHD medication shortages can be still going on in your area, and it just depends on where you are and if the medication is available. If it's not, then that can mean you have to wait for an extended period of time before you can actually get medication filled. Now you can actually, and I've actually done this, I've actually called around to different pharmacies to see which one has it. And sometimes I have to drive 30 minutes away, an hour away, to actually get something filled just because it's not available in my area. And that can be a thing. But if you need it, then that's kind of something you have to do. But just kind of before you actually request it, call around and see which pharmacies may have it, so you can tell your doctor before he actually does the prescription. Because if they have to write out a new prescription for you, then that could just cause a delay of getting your medication. And the other thing is, you can only get your medication one time in 30 days. So if you get close to that 30-day mark, they can't give you anything before that 30 days is up. So you need to make sure that you kind of prepare for that 30-day mark coming up what I did, or what I used to do, is I would call them in advance and say, hey, my 30 days is coming up. Can you please put in the prescription, or get ready the prescription for the 30th day? And then it would sit at the pharmacy. And then when that 30th day came, I would just go to the pharmacy and pick it up then. But it wasn't like I was picking it up early. I just called my doctor and said, hey, send the prescription over to here, so it's there when my 30th day is up, so I can go in and pick my medication up right then and there. And that's helped me to avoid that. Now, that may not be the case in your area with your doctor, but that's just something that I did to make sure that I had medication available at the time when I needed to get it. And here's something else I learned. I learned that I had a lot of misconceptions about ADHD medication, and a lot of people still have misconceptions about ADHD medication, of how it works, or what it's compared to, or why it's bad and why it's good. And there's so much information out there that's not really accurate information about taking ADHD medications. And so that is a lot of instances that you'll run across people that just don't know, and they're just going to say, hey, why do you need this, and why is this going on? I've heard all this bad stuff about it. And you have to kind of go through and explain to them and let them know, this is not how this actually works. ADHD medication, basically, in a nutshell, brings your dopamine level up to the right level that everybody else is at in general. And because you have a shortage of dopamine in your brain, that's pretty much how it works. It took me 3.5 years to decide to try ADHD medication. And the first one my doctor prescribed to me was Vyvanse. And boy, I was not prepared for everything that would go on with Vyvanse. These are the things they did not tell me before I took it. And one of the first things I noticed is hand tremors, or shakiness of hands. When I took Vyvanse, I tried to put my hand like this and it would shake. I tried to hold something and my hands would just be shaking, so it's hard to hold things. It's not happening all the time, but enough that if I'm trying to do something and notice it at the time, then I would have to stop and put whatever I have in my hands down and then try to pick it up later. And this also freaked me out a little bit, is that Vyvanse actually makes your heart beat faster, or at least for me it did. I would just feel my heart beating a lot faster than I thought was normal. It wasn't like a panic attack kind of heart beating faster, because I've had panic attacks before. I know what that feels like. It was just randomly, as I just felt my heart throughout the day, it was just beating a lot more fast than normal, and I did not like that at all. And also the nausea, it was not any fun, especially when I first started on it, because when I first started, the nausea was really bad, and then over time, as I got onto the right dosage, it did decrease over time. But even when I was still on the right dosage, it was still kind of bad. It lasted for 30 minutes to maybe an hour to even maybe 2 hours on with the nausea in the morning when I first started taking it, and then over the day it would go away, and then I'd be fine with no nausea. And something else that freaked me out the first time that it happened was I realized my blood pressure would be higher when on any stimulant medication for me, and especially with Vyvanse. The first time I went in and got a checkup and realized how high it would make my blood pressure, because I'm always used to being healthy, trying to stay healthy and active and everything, and having a good blood pressure reading when I went in. I did not like the fact that it actually elevated my blood pressure. And I know it sounds all bad, right? But it's not all bad. Here's what Vyvanse feels like. It's an extended release medication. And so this is what that really means. It means that it's going to have a gradual come on, stay there for a minute, and then a gradual come off when you're taking Vyvanse or any extended release medication. That's at least how it works from my experience. And so with Vyvanse, for me, it just didn't feel like, I didn't even notice it as much, coming on and getting to the point to where I was focused. I would just be doing something and then realize, wow, I'm really focused, and I knew it was active at that point. And then when I felt like I wasn't really being as focused, I knew it was actually gone out of my system. But it wasn't such a big just, okay, I'm completely focused right away kind of thing. For example, let's compare Vyvanse to Adderall. With Adderall, it is just a take the medication and I'm all in, all gung-ho, focus immediately. 30 minutes later, you are just super focused on whatever you're trying to do, which is great, but Vyvanse is not like that. It is more like a gradual come on. So let's say you're taking a cruise, right? You know how a cruise leaves out of port It's gradual, gets on those nice serene seas, and then you come back in really smooth. That's how Vyvanse works. It feels like a really good transition from starting to being on, and then also the finish. And by the way, if you're getting value out of the content, then go and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And I did not realize this at first. Your metabolism actually matters with Vyvanse. Vyvanse is supposed to have a 10 to 14 hour time that it is active in your body, but if your metabolism is fast, like my metabolism is, you can get only 6 to 8 hours at some point. That's at least what I got. And so I was like, okay, I'm not getting the 10 to 14 hours. I know it's out of my system about 8 hours in. I'm not getting any other benefit from it. And then I realized and was told your metabolism actually affects how long Vyvanse works for. Faster metabolism works less time. Slower metabolism may work more time. It just depends on your actual metabolism. And even though Vyvanse actually wears off gradually, you're probably wondering, does it still have kind of a crash because it's a stimulant medication? With Adderall, come up, be there for a little while, and come down really fast. If you've ever experienced the Adderall crash I have, it's not fun when it happens, because you know that it's just not active anymore, and you feel it, or at least I felt it. But Vyvanse, much more gradual come down. Yeah, I still felt kind of a crash, but it wasn't one of those things to where it was just so much. Like 10 to 15 minutes, took a little break, I was good to go after the fact. So you still kind of have it, but for me, it just didn't last that long. So hopefully it doesn't last that long for you too if you take it. And sleep with Vyvanse, or lack thereof sleep, I learned this the hard way. You can't take Vyvanse later in the day. It has to be done in the morning, and the reason is if I took it later in the day, because it's an extended release medication and lasts a lot longer, I would be up all night, even more so than when I took instant release medications. At least the instant release medications, I could generally try to get to sleep at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. With Vyvanse, yeah, not happening if I took it late. And so the point is I don't want you to go through that. So take it in the morning, and make sure you take it in the morning to where you have time to have it to where it will actually have time to wear off and not stay in your system, so you can't get to sleep at night, because if you don't, you may be up a long time with Vyvanse. And this is important, loss of appetite on Vyvanse. Even any other stimulant medication I've taken, loss of appetite. So I had to figure out a way to actually get myself hungry so I could eat. If I didn't, then I would go a whole day without eating anything, and that's not good. So what I do is I actually go work out, exercise, do any kind of physical activity that's going to burn calories, and that's going to make me hungry, and then I can actually eat during the day. Or I wait until all the medication wears off, and then immediately I'm hungry because I haven't eaten anything all day. And no one actually prepared me for the insurance nightmares and trying to pick up Vyvanse. First of all, if you don't have insurance, at least for me, if I didn't have insurance, then when I went to pick up the medication, then it would be like $300 or $250. And that's too much for a medication when you're doing it every 30 days. You just think about that. For a whole month, that's 303. That's a lot of money for a medication. And so if you have insurance, then that's going to be a lower price. It's still going to be expensive for medication, because it just never gets down, or at least it never got down to something that's like $20 or $10. It was always expensive for me. Now the thing about it is, the reason it was $300 is because you do have to go, at least I had to go through a pre-authorization process. That means if my insurance didn't like pre-authorize it, then they would just they wouldn't cover it, and so it would be the actual retail price of everything. So I had to call and get my insurance company to give me a pre-authorization so they could cover it, so I'd get the discounted rate. And that was a headache because of the fact that sometimes I go in and be ready to pick everything up, and then the pharmacist would have to call to get the pre-authorization, and they couldn't get it. I had to call to get pre-authorization, and it happened multiple times when I went to pick it up. It was not ready because of the fact the pre-authorization had to keep getting done over and over and over again, just randomly. And so eventually I was just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore because there's so much, just a nightmare of trying to make sure that everything is in order to just get the medication. I think this was maybe when Vyvanse first came to market. So it may be different now, but for me, it was just like logistical nightmare trying to get the medication when I actually needed it. For me, Adderall felt like I had no focus and then a whole bunch of focus at once, and I could focus on anything that I wanted to focus on. It's like going from 0 to 100 really quick. So I take the Adderall, I wait around 30 minutes. At that 30-minute mark, I have all the focus that I need and probably more. But when Adderall wore off, I really felt it. Now, here's the thing. Adderall is supposed to have a 4-hour to 6-hour duration time. But I found out this, it actually depends on your metabolism. And so what that means is if you metabolize stuff faster, then you're going to have a shorter time of effectiveness on Adderall. If you metabolize stuff slower, you're going to have a more effective duration of Adderall working in your system. Now think about me, I metabolize stuff really fast, so I was always around the 4-hour mark. And that's not good. If I need it to last all day, then that means I need 2 different doses of Adderall. So that's what they gave me. I take one in the morning, and then if I needed it in the afternoon still, I would take another one in the afternoon. And now let's talk about side effects I did not know about. The first one, which I think is probably the worst one for me, is that Adderall would make me kind of zone out. And it's not like hyper focus zoning out. I would just be looking at something and just zone out completely. And I didn't notice it at first. I was like, okay, well, it's just how it is. But somebody will say, or people would just say to me, you okay? You just zoned out for a minute. I do not like that feeling at all. And that was the thing that bothered me the most about Adderall. And on Adderall, I had no appetite at all. I just was not ever hungry. And so I had to make myself eat. I had to go find something and just eat it at whatever time that I started to think about food, even in the slightest. Or the other thing I did was I worked out, did exercise every day, and that made me hungry enough to make sure that I could eat. Otherwise, I would just forget to eat at all. That's how focused it made me. And this right here, so essential when I take Adderall because dry mouth was so bad. I need to find some kind of water, something to drink to take away the dry mouth. So that was not pleasant. And I just didn't like having a dry mouth at all. That was one of the worst side effects of taking Adderall. And then it's really hard to get to sleep when you're taking Adderall. You just don't find yourself tired if you're taking Adderall. Now, the thing about it is too, if you take Adderall and then it wears off and you take it too late in the afternoon, then you will not get any sleep. At least I didn't get any sleep when I took it too late in the afternoon. If it's past like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock and I take it, I'm up all night. And so I learned my lesson. I've done that a couple of times, learned my lesson because I do not want to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning rearranging my home because I took Adderall really late and now I have all this focus, have all this energy. I don't know what to do. And then I have all these ideas of things I can do that it's not the appropriate time to actually do them at that time. And if you're enjoying the content, then go ahead and click the subscribe button for me so you don't miss any videos. And then there's irritability. It made me irritable, so I had to basically just watch what I said or watch how I acted so I didn't react in a way that wasn't nice to people. And that is a real issue because you're around people, you want to be nice, you want to be polite, and you don't want to get just annoyed or irritated just because you're on a medication that has that side effect. And this was scary the first time I felt it, is it makes your heart race, and my heart was just racing. I didn't know why, and I was like, I'm not having a panic attack or anything. I felt this is different, and it's just part of the medication. The other thing about it is it raises your blood pressure up. And so when I went to the doctor and got my blood pressure taken and was expecting it to be one number and then it was elevated, and I was like, what is going on? What's the deal? And then I found out it actually raises your blood pressure up. And that's not a good feeling either because you don't want your blood pressure high. You want it to where it's right in line where it's supposed to be. But when you take Adderall, it's always, just about always, going to be raised up a little bit. And wow, the shakiness. I could hold my hand like this and it'll be shaking all over the place. And if I'm trying to grab something, my shakiness might be so much that I can't really hold it steady. And so I have to put it down until I'm not shaky and then pick it back up. That's one of the things that Adderall, actually a lot of stimulants, just make me like actually do, is just shake, and I hate it. And with Adderall did come some nausea, not a whole lot, maybe 30 to 40 minutes of nausea. So by the time it kicked in, my nausea was really gone, which is really good. And also Muscle spasms, I'm not sure if Adderall gave me any muscle spasms. It can, but I'm not sure if it did because I work out, and when you work out, you get muscle spasms anyway. And so whether they were from Adderall or just from working out, I had no idea. I can't tell you. And because I did forget it a couple of times, I decided I was not going to forget it anymore. So I took all my medicine, all my supplements, put it in one place in a pill case, and that way I knew exactly where they were. And that way, I got up in the morning, I went right there, got all my stuff out, and took it all at the same time. Now, if I did get to the point where I was like, okay, did I take everything? I look back and I'm not sure if I took it, then I'll just declare that, hey, I've taken it, because I don't want to do a double dose of Adderall. That can be really bad. So what I did is, then if I just forgot it and wasn't sure and didn't remember if I took it or not, I wouldn't take another one until it was time for my next dose. And if you're wondering, can you work out and take Adderall? I did. I didn't have any ill effects or any side effects from taking it and actually going to work out. I didn't have any side effects from drinking coffee and taking Adderall as well. So those things didn't affect me. Now, I don't know if they'll affect you, but at least for me, I didn't have anything extra side effects from doing those things. And by the way, I do not drink alcohol or anything, so I don't know anything about that. I do not smoke anything, so I don't know anything about that. So I just can't help you with my opinion on those. And here's the thing about Adderall. It has a lot of side effects, but it did what it's supposed to do. It helped me get things done. It helped me focus, and that's a really good thing. Now, I did stop taking it because of the whole spacing out, zone out kind of thing. I just couldn't deal with that. But other than that, I had a pretty good experience with Adderall. I've been on Ritalin for 2 years. There's a lot people did not tell me before I started taking Ritalin. I went through 4 other ADHD medications before landing on Ritalin. I'm going to tell you everything about my experience in this video. The first thing I found out when trying to take ADHD medication, it takes time. I had been through 4 different ones before actually landing on Ritalin, Concerta, Vyvanse, Adderall, Wellbutrin, and they all took a specific amount of time to try to figure out what is the correct dosage. Is it working for me? Do I get side effects from it? And what is going to be the best one for me? Now, I went through those other 4 and decided Ritalin was the best one for me. But it's not an instant thing where you go in, you take it, and you immediately feel just great when you're on Ritalin, right? Your dosage may be too low or it may be too high. You have to figure that out. You work with your psychiatrist, you take it, and they start you on, or at least they started me on the lowest dosage. And then we went up and up until I found the right dosage for me. But if it was too high, then I had to go back and kind of reverse it. I tried different ones until we got to a nice sweet spot of this is the best dosage for me. And then over that whole time, I was communicating back and forth, telling them, okay, this is how I feel, this is how it affected me, this is how focused I am when I'm on it. And all that can be the feedback that you give, so you know that you actually have found the one that works for you and the correct dosage that works for you as well. And for me, this is what Ritalin feels like. It feels like I take glasses, I was seeing blurry, I couldn't focus on anything, super chaotic. Take Ritalin, put on glasses, can focus on whatever I need to focus on. So anything that's important and work I need to get done, Ritalin helps me do that. Now, the thing about it is, if I'm looking at something that is not important as well, I take Ritalin, I'm going to focus on that not important thing right at that time, because it gives you that extra focus, that extra dopamine that I need to actually make sure that I'm focusing on whatever I am looking at the time or whatever I'm doing at the time. Now, the thing about it is, for me, it takes about 30 minutes for it to kick in. I take it, wait about 20 to 30 minutes. I know immediately when it kicks in, because I go from just disorganized, unfocused to super focused for that time that Ritalin is actually working. And for me, it works 4 to 5 hours. Now, I heard that most people go 4 to 6 hours depending on how it is with them and working. And it actually has to do with your metabolism as well. You metabolize things faster, then the medication goes through your system faster. You metabolize things slower, it goes through your system slower. And mine just happens to be 4 to 5 hours for the effect for me. Now, think about it is, once that 4 to 5 hours is done, it drops off super quick for me. And I immediately know I was focused and now I'm unfocused and chaotic again. And I have to figure out what I want to do for those next remaining 4 hours if I'm working for an 8-hour job or even longer for that job. So the thing that my doctor helped me out with, he gave me a second dose to take after that 4-hour period. And so now I take the second dose And that's another 4 to 5 hours I have Ritalin in effect, and that helps me get through my workday. So this is one of the things I really like about it because I do get that focus for the complete workday if I need it. If I don't need it, then sometimes I might not take that second dose because I use all that time to focus on that thing. And that second dose is only if I actually need that second dose. And here's something else super important I found out about Ritalin. I take it too late in the afternoon, I'm not getting sleep that night. Wears off 4 to 5 hours, but because of the effect of it has on my body, I stay up all night long if I take it too late in the afternoon, and that is a bad side effect. So if it gets too late in the afternoon, I do not take it. I just skip it for that time period and then go ahead and take it the next day, the regular dose for the first amount of hours that I'm up. And here's some of the side effects I've experienced with Ritalin. Dry mouth, really bad with Ritalin. I do have to have some kind of water when I'm actually taking Ritalin because it will just be quick to my mouth to get super dry. And I do need to have something to drink to take that away. Irritability is another one. If I'm on Ritalin and I may just jump off the handle at someone or say something I don't mean just because I'm irritable because I'm on Ritalin. So I have to make sure that I keep an eye on how I respond to people when I am on it. Also, it actually raises my blood pressure some, which is another real issue, a health concern. So when I go in to take my blood pressure, I have to realize if I'm on Ritalin at a time, my blood pressure is going to be a little bit higher. And so when they tell me, hey, your blood pressure is high, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm on Ritalin as a stimulant. That's just part of what a stimulant does, at least for me. And so when that happens, I just need to stay calm and be aware that, okay, I'm on this. It's going to be a little bit higher. It's not a concern, but I still need to make sure that I watch it. Now, another thing about Ritalin that's kind of annoying, it makes me sweat easier. So I go do something, come back, I'm already sweating. Doesn't matter how much I've done. Sometimes it's just random. It's just unpleasant. It's just annoying. Just one of those things about taking Ritalin that I have to get used to. Another thing that it actually does, it makes me kind of lose my appetite. Sometimes I just forget to eat at all because of the fact I'm on it. And so I just don't have the appetite. I just don't get hungry to actually get up and get food and get enough food in me sometimes. So to counteract that, what I do is actually go and work out and run or do any type of exercise to make sure I build up hunger so I can actually eat. So I do get hungry, because if I don't, if I'm sitting just throughout my day, I may not remember I need to actually go and get some food until it actually wears off and completely. And then I'm just like, wow, I'm super hungry at the time. But if it's too late in the day to actually eat, then it may just be to the effect that I'm not going to eat this late, or I may start to go to bed and not even remember to eat before I go to bed. So these are things that happen when you're taking Ritalin, when it's dealing with your appetite. At least for me, that's what's happened. And one of the worst side effects for me when taking Ritalin is the nausea. I take it for that first 30 minutes after taking it, I feel really nauseous. My stomach just doesn't feel right. And then once it actually fully kicks in, then I feel okay. But it's just that first 30 minutes is just not good for me. Now, you may not experience any of the nausea, I'm not sure. But for me, I get this super just nauseous when that in that first 30 minutes. And then after that, I'm good. But I do have to go through that period. And this is every day once I start taking it. And remember this, these are the side effects I have experienced. You may not experience the same ones. You may experience more, you may experience less. It all depends on how your body reacts to Ritalin when you take it. So it just depends if this is going to be the right thing for you to take, or if you just feel like there's too many things going on that you may need to take something else. You have to decide. It may make it hard to actually take Ritalin and stay on it. Now, something that's super easy that you can do right now is subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content. And something I was not sure of when I started taking Ritalin is how much is the cost going to be? Is it going to be less expensive or more expensive than other ADHD medications I've taken? It's still expensive, just like all the other ADHD medications I have taken. Now, think about it is, it depends on your insurance, depends on where you live. On my insurance and where I live, it's just expensive to actually get Ritalin. When you go to the drugstore, you have to go there. I go there, give my ID, they check my ID, I sign for it. The cashier always does this. Is that the right price for that medication? Are you sure? Then they whisper to me how much it is. It's going to be this amount. Are you sure that's the correct amount? Yes, I'm sure that's the correct amount. And then once I get to go in there after a few times, if they know me, then they will just do the whole process and won't ask me these questions about the cost of it. But it's still expensive. And I realized that if I didn't have insurance, it would be even more expensive than what it is. And so, again, it may be different for you because of where you live and what insurance you have and a whole bunch of different factors. And now, something else about Ritalin, just like any other ADHD medication right now, is there still are shortages going on. And so with me, I have to figure out how am I going to actually make sure I get my medication on time. So what happens for me is I actually have to call around different pharmacies to check if they have not only the medication, but the right amount of the medication, because they may have the medication, but they may not have the right amount of it. And so I have to call and call and call around, and finally, I find one, and then I call my doctor, and my doctor gives the prescription to that pharmacy. I have had it where I called my doctor, he called in the prescription and realized that that pharmacy does not have the prescription. Then I have to go back and call him again, and then he call another pharmacy that may have the medication, and that whole process just takes longer. So now I've learned, okay, I'm going to call around, find out which one has it beforehand. And then when he gives me the prescription, then I know this one is going to have everything I need. I can go pick it up and there will be no problems or hassle. So if you live in an area that is dealing with a shortage, make sure you call around first to find out if they have the medication. It's going to make your experience a lot smoother when you're trying to actually get the medication. And here's something I learned before I started taking ADHD medication, is the medication itself does not work for everybody. Some people get no benefit at all. I think Dr. Ned Hollowell said only 80% get benefit from it. He is a doctor and he is one of the people that it doesn't help at all. So what he does is drink coffee instead, and that's what he uses as his way to deal with ADHD. Now, if you're in the category of the people that it doesn't help at all, then you may try to figure out what else is actually available for you to actually help you with ADHD. But just realize that going in, that when you go in to try to get the medication and try it, that you may get into the category of this may not help me at all. I really hope it does, but just want to make sure that you know that, because this is something that I learned. So when I went in and tried to do ADHD medication, I just had to prepare myself. If it didn't help me at all, what am I going to do next? And here is my thought, just something I don't get, is when people that don't have ADHD actually take ADHD medication, because the way the medication works, if you have a dopamine deficit, which is common with ADHD, it takes your dopamine level and brings it up to the normal level of everybody else that doesn't have that dopamine deficit. So just my thought about the whole situation is that they're taking ADHD medication, and the only benefit they're getting from it is like insomnia, to stay up longer, to make sure that they're going to stay up so they don't fall asleep. And it just doesn't make sense to me that somebody without ADHD is taking ADHD medication. So just my thoughts on that issue, that I don't think they're really getting any benefit out of it, as to where when you have ADHD, you get a lot of benefit out of it. And here's the thing, I'm not a doctor, so there may be more to it. That's just my opinion. Now, another thing is random drug tests. They are a thing when you take ADHD medication. You may go in to see your doctor, and at that time they say, okay, random drug test, go in, do your random drug test thing, and then they see the results and see if you're actually taking the medication. I think this is because they don't want you to take the medication and give it to someone else or sell it to someone or anything like that. So they do these random drug tests to make sure you are taking the medication. And so as long as you're taking it consistently, then that medication is going to show up in your system. And so there will be no issues. I always take mine consistently. So whenever they ask me to do one, I'm like, no problem, go in and do it. It's just part of the thing that you have to do when you're taking ADHD medication. But do realize when you go in that at any time, if they want to drug test you, they're allowed to drug test you. It doesn't matter the day or the time or whatever. It's just when you go in, they can just automatically say, hey, today drug test, go in, do your thing. And then as long as you are doing your thing the correct way, then there should be no issues. At least there have been no issues for me. And after taking Ritalin for 2 years, here's my truth. Ritalin is not perfect. It has side effects. It may be expensive. You may not be able to find it. All those things are true that you may have to deal with. And so you may not think that it's worth it. But for me, I get focused. It helps me get throughout my day. And so this really helps me deal with ADHD. After years not being diagnosed with ADHD, I finally got my diagnosis at the age of 40. And when I got it, I did not want to do any medication at all. I was determined to find different alternatives to actually use a medication. This is what I did for those 4 years that helped me manage my ADHD. The first thing I was super excited that actually helped ADHD is exercise, because I have been exercising all my life, whether it's basketball, running, going for a swim, whatever it was. I didn't realize it helped ADHD. The 40 years before that I was undiagnosed, it was helping me all that time. And so when I found out it helped, I was really excited about that, because I knew that if I wasn't taking medication, at least this was one way that I could get some dopamine and that would help with ADHD. And personally for me, I love a gym workout, but you can do whatever kind of exercise that you want, just as long as you get up and move your body. That is the most important thing to help you get the benefits of exercise. And something else that really helps me is to actually change my environment. I get tired of being in my house or apartment. I want to be somewhere else because it's going to motivate me just because it's someplace new. Maybe I go to Starbucks and work there on, whatever I need for work or for school, whatever. Maybe instead of working out at home or working out in the gym, I go to the park and walk around the park and just see some trees, some squirrels, and just some animals or whatever, maybe even a lake. And that is just something that makes it a new experience. So that's going to help generate dopamine and actually helps me to stay motivated, because now it's just not the same thing day in and day out. And here's something else I was super excited to learn, is that sunshine actually helps to improve the mood and keeps me happy. And I was excited to learn that because I'm from the Sunshine State, Florida. I lived there for 20 years, got a whole lot of sunshine. Didn't realize it was helping to keep my mood up. And I do feel better when it's sunny outside instead of the gloomy, kind of rainy, cloudy cover. So I was so happy to learn that actually just being outside in the sun can help. And one of the first things that everybody recommended to me when I got diagnosed is do mindfulness. And I tried mindfulness. It's good. I just can't make my mind stop racing around trying to just sit and meditate and do mindfulness. So what I do instead is just do things that help me to pause. For example, I get ready to make that decision to buy something. Before I do that, if I still want that thing the next day after 24 hours, then I'll buy it. Or I do things like one in, one out, which means every time I want to bring an item into my home, I have to get rid of something out of my home as well. It helps to keep my home decluttered. Or I go into a room and before I even think about anything else, I stop and just become aware of my environment before I really start just looking around, going around the room. It just makes me be able to look around and really take in the environment. And these are all things that help me pause. And that helped a lot when I got diagnosed with ADHD. And if you want more videos like this, then go ahead and click the subscribe button for me so you don't miss any videos. And I was really happy to learn that certain foods are brain foods that can help with ADHD. And I was already kind of into healthy eating anyway. And so I went and tried to figure out, okay, what things can I eat that help me have better memory and things like that. Blueberries are just like one of my favorite things. I did always eat healthy before the age of 30. I just ate anything. The other thing about it is my kind of healthy eating is that I want to make something in 15 minutes or less. So all my meals are simple, really simple meals, 1 or 2 steps, one or two ingredients. Chicken and rice is always good. And it's just a matter of, can I fix it in a short amount of time? And that way I know that it's not going to be a big, long meal or a big, long process when I go to cook, and it makes me more motivated to actually cook as well. And do you love snacks like I do? I love eating different snacks, but I cannot have the processed and sugary foods and junk food in my home. I had to get rid of all of it and replace it with healthy snacks. Otherwise, I end up grabbing the junk food and eating way too much of it. And so that's another thing that I did that helps me to stay with the healthy eating. And how good are you at keeping track of time? I'm not really good at keeping track of time, being aware of time, not my strong suit. So I need help. And what I do is have timers like this, This is a visual timer, so you see the color on here. The color tells you how much time that you actually have set, and then as it disappears, it tells you how much time you have left as well. The other thing is you can get whatever kind of timer you want. You get a timer on your cell phone. Me, I need like 10 alarms on my cell phone when I try to get somewhere on time, because I keep hitting the snooze on the alarm, so I need multiple ones to keep going off. I need notifications when I have my tablet or computer to make sure I know when the appointment is. All these things help me keep track of time, and they are really essential for making sure I am not late. And I learned pretty quick that I love noise canceling headphones. I have regular headphones that are great, but they just don't cancel out the noise. And all the noise in the environment, a loud environment, just some kind of noise I don't like, can be drowned out by having some noise canceling headphones. Best thing ever you have, get a pair of noise canceling headphones, because that way I feel more comfortable in the environment where I don't have a lot of distractions and noise going on. Helps me to study, helps me to pay attention, helps me just stay on task and focused as well. And one of the first things that I got into, I was like, oh, fidget toys, I am just all in for it. Like the first thing that I just learned about, I was like, oh, I can get a toy that helps me fidget. Great idea. I had the fidget cube, which is this one, still have it. It was okay. I didn't really enjoy it as much because I just got bored with it after a while. And then I got this thing, which is called the owner roller. And this is great because of the fact that you can just do it like this, just roll it around like this in your hand. And it's just nice, easy to do, fun to do. And it just feels good in your hand, which is great. And it's also really quiet, which is a disadvantage of this thing. This thing actually makes noise. This doesn't. I can do this all day and not make any noise. These are really good and great things to have because a lot of times we just fidget. I know that I always fidget or tap my foot or something like that. And so with fidget toys, it helps me to actually keep my mind off of fidgeting. So I think that's a great thing. And I didn't know this at the time, but just being next to somebody, having somebody in the room can help you get motivated. I never knew what that was called until I actually got diagnosed with ADHD and learned the term body doubling. It's a great thing because now you can just do it online on a Zoom call. Just have someone on there on the Zoom call, have you there where your face is on the Zoom call as well, and you can just work and see each other, and that helps. But having someone in the room with you is even better. And I never realized that just inviting my friend over to study or do some work and how much more work I got done with them in the room, that actually was a motivating factor for me. And then when I figured that out, I was like, this is great because now I can strategically apply body doubling when I need to get some task or activity done. And this just has helped me a lot. And before I got diagnosed, I just thought I was just a really disorganized person. I'm kind of still disorganized, but just to an extreme max of everything was just everywhere. I didn't know where stuff was half the time. I'd put stuff in certain places to like have a routine of going and looking in that place and trying to find it, but it just had no rhyme or reason a lot of times. And so what I did is I made sure I started putting stuff in the place where I use it, and that makes a big difference. This is like a game changer. If you haven't done this, do this, because what happens is I would go to actually do an activity or start on something, and now when I have all that stuff in the place where I use it, easy to go there and not have to worry about going to a different place to wonder if something's there that I need for whatever I'm trying to do. I already know it's all in that one place. Makes things so much easier to find, makes things much easier to know where you need to actually place it back. Greatest thing, one of the easiest and greatest things that you can do to your home. And one of the most important things I found out that I wasn't even sure I had a routine. I do have a morning routine. It is super important to actually have something and just develop it over time. Like for me, I get up in the morning, I drink a protein shake, I cook some eggs, I go take a shower, I brush my teeth. I do all these different things in the morning, and I have like 10 or 15 things I do, and I don't have to even remember them, right? I just kind of go through the motions. Just when I get up, I go and do this and take that and do this other thing. And it just makes it really easy when you have a routine. And you don't start out with like 15 things. I just ended up getting used to doing these 10 or 15 things every morning. And so now I don't have to think about it. And this is super important because then you don't have to sit and think about, okay, do I need to do this? Need to do that? Need to do this? you don't have to do any of that is great. And so when you find one or get a routine going, then it's going to be a good thing. I guarantee it's going to be a good thing. Now, the thing about it is you can also do habit stacking. And this is basically what I did to make the routine. You actually do one thing, and then on top of that one thing leads to the next thing, and that other thing leads to the next thing. And then pretty soon you have all these things that you do in a certain order, and all these different things lead to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And this is how you actually get into actually having a routine as well. And what routine or routines do you actually use now that are your favorite? Leave those in the comments. Now, the next thing is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Now, for me, because I wasn't doing any medication at the time, CBT really helped. It's just nice to actually be able to talk to someone, express what you're feeling, get some feedback. Now, the thing about it for me is I found someone that was really into actually working with people with ADHD, and not only just people with ADHD, but adults with ADHD mainly. And they had a lot of experience, like 25 years of experience of doing this. And so for me, it was a great situation to find that person because they had a really good understanding of how ADHD worked. And that made it easier for me to understand more about ADHD and learn more about ADHD. So I think it really depends on if you can find a person that's really good and kind of understands you, that you click with. That's when I think CBT actually really works. So you really have to kind of do your research and figure out what person is going to be the right one for you. And because I refuse to take any medication, I did take supplements. I do take some now. Now, I'm not a doctor, so consult your doctor before taking any supplement, because a lot of times not regulated. What I take now is vitamin D, fish oil, rhodiola, choline, multivitamin, B12 or a B complex, and also I do protein, because protein is actually good for you as well, because your brain's made of needs protein. And so taking a protein shake is actually good for you as well. And here's some supplements I tried that I did not like or didn't do anything for me. Zinc just made me feel bad trying to take it. I don't know what it was. Just didn't make me feel good. L-theanine just makes me super groggy. Gets me to sleep fine. Great for doing that. I wake up the next day and I'm groggy the rest of the day for whatever reason. And then there is nootropics. Now, nootropics are just like these random kind of all these different things wrapped into one little pill. All these different amounts of supplements wrapped up into a pill. It has all these different things. You never know, like, is this, good stuff or bad stuff, or does it have any side effects, or what's this for? Yeah, I need this, but it's also combined with this. It's just so many things wrapped up into one thing that I just opted for not even doing nootropics anymore, because I tried a lot of them. If you want to know which ones I tried, just look at the most popular ones. I tried a lot of nootropics, and they had the same effect as they made me feel bad every time and gave me a headache every time, no matter which one I tried. Some gave me less of a headache. Some gave me more of a headache. Some just made my stomach really upset. So it just was not a good experience. And I would say if you don't, I would just recommend, and my recommendation is nootropics are not regulated, and it's a combination of multiple supplements, which can be a really risky thing in my opinion.